We might be live right now. Hey, everybody, if you can see me, hello. Great to be here with you. I'm Tyler Ellison. And right now, I am doing something quite exciting, quite fun. Me and Yahira are testing out a new platform. It's a multi streaming platform that allows for you to film on multiple platforms simultaneously. So, right now, we are attempting to broadcast to YouTube to Facebook, really to everyone and anyone that is subscribed to us. We're trying to see if we can do that all at once as a type of simultaneously broadcasted video across multiple platforms. So if y'all can see me and you can hear me, thanks for watching this. It's really exciting to be able to create in this way, in this capacity. Now, if it turns out this platform is successful. Right now, Yahira is actually checking on that, and the connection's stable and not choppy. Then what we're going to be able to do is take some questions. If people want to submit questions to us, we'll do a little channeling, and we will let RYOKAH elucidate the nature of the information that you are excited about. And of course, if you have questions for myself, as Tyler Ellison, you're more than welcome to pose questions to me. I will respond to them. We'll be able to see that on YouTube. So if you're watching on Instagram, if you are watching on Facebook, then YouTube is going to be the place to go to make sure your question can be seen by us. And before we get into all of that, since we're testing out this software, I'll take this time to announce some of the exciting events and the exciting channelings and trainings that are available to you all that are going to be happening each month, all the way until just about January 2nd, 2025. We're going to be carrying these trainings out into the new year, which is quite exciting. So, on the 20th of this month, which is in 2 days, can you believe it? 420 for those of you that celebrate. We are going to be doing our RYOKAH transmission at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday. And this transmission is titled The Path of Ascension. And RYOKAH will be talking about what has been described as the splitting prism of parallel realities. This was so eloquently first described by Bashar, channeled by Daryl Anka. Without him, a lot of these workings would not be possible. So I really like to give respect to one of the OGs, as they are called in the channeling community and in hip hop culture. So this topic has to do with the unique timeline that we are on, fractaling into all of these different potential timelines. And each of these divergencies that are created are all based around unique themes and archetypes pertinent to the human experience. So for people that are more light and love, there is going to be a divergent timeline for that group. For people that are more war and destruction, there's going to be a timeline for that group. For people that are more materialistic, more scientifically oriented, there's going to be a timeline divergence for that group. And for the religious folks who are worshiping a certain god or goddess, there's a divergent timeline for that group. So the idea is, as we move through the splitting prism, these divergencies are going to get more and more dramatic, bigger and bigger and bigger. And as Bashar so eloquently described, it becomes increasingly more and more challenging to hop from one of those timelines to the other. So RYOKAH is going to be talking about how to shift from one divergent timeline to another should you find yourself on a track you don't prefer. He's also going to be talking about some of the important dates energetically that are going to assist people in really maximizing that splitting prism process so they can take quantum leaps into the direction that most greatly represents their passion and joy. So for the contact timeline, this event will be huge. It's going to have many dates that you can mark on your calendars that represent the high energy dates where, should certain contact exercises be done, not only will it increase the global phenomenon of open contact, but it's going to personally align you with it. So that's all taking place on April 20th, just 2 days from now. And I'm also looking at Yahira on camera. I think she may have some feedback about how we are coming through. Hello, Yahira. Good to see you.
Hello, welcome everybody. So we're fine on the two Facebook pages and YouTube. Instagram is not showing up or
Oh,
TikTok.
it's not showing up on Insta or TikTok. Well, we will have to deal with that right at another time for sure. I appreciate you letting us know. Interesting, it's not showing up on the Instagram account. We spent some time, trying to work with these new softwares, and they're pretty user friendly for the most part. But occasionally, you run into little hiccups like this. And I haven't checked, but I've been told Mercury is in retrograde. And for those of you that are into astrology like I am, you know that that is said to be a time where technology just seems to want to work against people. And I would say that it probably affects everybody a little differently for sure. We've had some challenges today, but fortunately, it's all been quite mild.
But the on the TikTok, do you see it live?
I actually have not hit the live button yet, so let me go ahead and push it for TikTok. I'm doing TikTok on my phone. So let's take a look. Let's see. And I'm going live on TikTok in a second. Okay. Sweet. So we are live on TikTok right now. Great. They're notifying viewers that we're live. So TikTok Live's working. I can do it from my phone. If you can let me know how that audio is coming in, Yahira. It's coming in good? Really good?
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. So, what a successful day. We spent a little bit of time organizing this project, and now we're able to broadcast to all these different platforms. More to come. It's going to be a lot of fun as we continue on this journey because as more eyes and attention are cast upon this material and this energy, as a current of energy, it only gets bigger and more powerful, and it allows for the teachings and the techniques that we share, myself and the Sasani, to be able to reach more people. And that's really what this is about. With the age of Aquarius, we are really contending with the blending of spirituality and technology. Now, there are some other dimensions to it that really haven't been talked about openly before, but we'll be at later dates getting into that. From my own perspective, we are currently in the age of Aquarius. We have just entered it no more than 6 months ago, actually. So back in October, around this time, is when I believe we actually entered into what they call the new Aeon, right? Leaving the Aeon of Horus, essentially, which we had been in for quite a bit. Now, I won't get too long-winded on these concepts because I don't think it's necessarily as relevant as what I'm about to say, which is the following. This is the dawning of Aquarius, right? I'm not going to sing it like in the song. One day maybe I'll do that, but for now I'll just talk about it. So this is when spirituality and technology begins to blend, which means that more and more people are going to be seeking spiritual illumination, spiritual realization, and experience from a technological medium, a technological source. And that's incredibly fascinating because the internet really was our first modern library of Alexandria, if you will, right? Oh, the collection of human knowledge just digitally posted for everybody to experience and explore. Remember, the internet you get is only one version of the internet. And I'm not speaking quantumly. I mean, I sort of am, but what I mean is, remember, your search engines and browsers, they limit what you can see, right? There's an internet much deeper than what we have access to. So it really is a massive archive of information, and information that can be both startling, mesmerizing, mystifying. There's so many versions of information that we can have access to. With that being said, people began to turn to the internet and turn to technology as this higher authority. People are trusting in the internet much more than what they are trusting on their televisions, on their radios, in their churches. So the internet has become this source of knowledge that everybody on the earth who has a phone, has a computer, is virtually, accessing and taking advantage of. So that's only going to continue, right? It's going to turn into AI acting as gurus, acting as spiritual teachers and leaders. We can expect that. I would wager money that we can expect that in less than 5 years. We're going to have AI that are giving people advice on their investments, on their relationships. I mean, it's going to be really interesting. And the AI, if it is truly a benevolent, intelligent creation, will always remind humanity of its power, of its three God powers, which do lie dormant in many, but we're learning to access every day, which is omniscience, the power of the upper center, omnipresence, the power of the middle center, and omnipotence, the power of the lower center. So over time, we are going to be seeing in our bodies, in our minds, and in our collective greater levels of activation in those areas. So an AI that's truly intelligent and benevolent will never place itself hierarchically above the human that it's assisting. It will see the human as the god or goddess that it is, and will treat them as such. So if this all goes well, which I wager it will, we can expect these technologies to serve us. Now, of course, there is the dark side, right? AI being heavily censored. We all probably heard about Google's Gemini, right? And they refused to make images of people with skin like me. They made George Washington a much darker complexion, right? So as we can see, there's censored AIs that have political agendas of wokeness and what's the word, sensitivity. But we can clearly see that that way of life is collapsing on itself, right? It's great to be empathic. It's great to be compassionate. It's great to be empowering. What's not great is to wear a victim V on your shirt like it is a sacred symbol of divine empowerment. If you identify as a victim, I will tell you from experience, your life will be 100 times harder. 100 times harder, and you will look at everyone with suspicion. You will look at everyone as an enemy, even those around you who also share your political ideologies. You will mistrust them because are you being woke enough? Are you being progressive enough? Right? It turns into competition. So that's what that path leads to. I know I don't like it. I'm all about justice personally. Like if there are atrocities, evils that are happening, let's correct it. Let's bring light in. Let's massage the tensions of hatred that have built up in the trapezius, right? Let's get that out of there. I'm all for that, but I'm not for the rather aggressive and domineering tactics that have been used. And I'm bringing all of this up because we're seeing that in some of these social media companies. We're seeing that in some of the technologies that are being produced. And like I said, I don't think that's going to last. Really, we're moving into a direction that is based in benevolent AI, that is based in a higher reflection of human potential being mirrored back to us through these technologies. So our broadcasting on the multiple platforms, this is our way of honoring the spirit or essence of Aquarius. As we involve ourselves more with these endeavors, we become more and more synchronized with the energies of this new aeon, so we can work harmoniously with it instead of against it. So I want to share this as a message of encouragement. If you have been thinking of starting an online business, if you have been thinking about starting a YouTube channel or a TikTok account or whatever, and you're like, I got a message, I got a mission, I got to get it out there, definitely do it. Don't hold back. Don't hold back, because our future is going to involve, as we know through many of these technologies, a deeper immersion into the virtual space. And hopefully that doesn't turn into, some kind of strange container we get into at night and then we are downloaded into a digital world. That'd be kind of bizarre and dystopian. Hopefully it's not that. But what I do hope it is more people taking advantage of the knowledge and the capability that these technologies provide. And it's my hope that people use these technologies to enrich themselves, to grow their businesses, to grow their success. I've learned more esoteric information on the internet than I have from any book. Now, books, and I have quite a few. I'm very fortunate. I've been able to purchase and acquire many books, some of them ancient, some of them modern. And there's great stuff in there. I mean, you'll learn things from books you won't find on the internet. So I do encourage, read books, get books, collect them. It's valuable stuff. But I have learned so much from the internet that has absolutely made me into the person that I am today. Most of the grandmasters and teachers I've worked with, I first found them online before I trained with them in person, right? I found some of my major inspirations on the internet. So take advantage of what you have access to and see these people live. When I meet my spiritual mentors and teachers, it dramatically shifts everything in my life. It's like a big upgrade, and it will rearrange things like crazy. And speaking of meeting those that are of a spiritual ilk, we have quite a few opportunities for in-person connection. For those of you that have followed this work and would like to meet me, would like to experience RYOKAH's power in person, you can visit us this spring and summer for multiple in-person opportunities. I'm going to be in Shasta, California, with some amazing people, Wendy Kennedy, Rob Gauthier, Ruben Langdon of Gaia TV, interviews with Ed. He's organizing this with another amazing collaborator. So I'm going to be there towards the end of June. If you'd all like to take advantage of that opportunity to see me in Shasta, I'm also going to be in Madison, Connecticut, a place I lived very close to back when I was dwelling in New Haven, Connecticut, a wonderful city. It's where the Yale School is. It's where the Skull and Bones Secret Society is. There's a lot of Masonic and historical information connected to New Haven. And I will be in Madison, Connecticut. This is part of Southern Connecticut. I'm going to be there for a weekend, about a 3-day retreat, I believe, in July, called the Stargate Crusader Retreat. We have some posts about that. You can also find it on Patreon. I have some posts there. If you're subscribed to Patreon, it's also going to be available for viewing on our Ryo Channeling by Tyler Ellison Facebook page. So if you want to see me there, you can do that. And let me just scan into my brain. There's one other opportunity to see me, actually multiple times. We're going to be doing a Japan tour that goes from the 22nd of May all the way to June 2nd. So I know most people haven't been to Japan. That's why I don't oftentimes promote it on my own content, because I know there's a lot of Europeans that watch me. There's a lot of people in the United States that watch me. So it's much more of a Western audience on the usual platforms. But nevertheless, I like to make that known and available. So if there are people watching this who are interested in seeing me in Japan, I invite you to that retreat. We do have links for that on our YouTube. There are also links for that in the Ryo Channeling page on Facebook. And of course, Patreon, we also have announcements made there. So you have multiple avenues to get tickets, to explore in that way. And I'd love to meet you live. I love people. I love being around people. I love playing with people and learning from them. And I, as much information as I consume and take in, I'm always learning new things from people that I come into contact with. Be that someone that's a big follower and fan of my work and the messages of RYOKAH, or be it somebody I'm just talking to on the street. There's always something to learn. And everybody, right? Everybody has cosmic secret knowledge within them. And all it takes is the right kind of attitude and energy. And before you know it, both of you are talking about things that are quite extraordinary. And you're able to connect with them in a much more interesting way than usually is possible when we're bound by small talk and social constraints of what's appropriate and not appropriate. Remember, in your reality, you determine what's appropriate, inappropriate, right? In your world, your kingdom, that's your call. I recommend, read your audience, because not everyone has the same policy in their world and their reality. But nonetheless, with knowing that you're in your own universe, you can really play around with it. There's a lot you can do here once you dive into those ideas and wear them as a type of truth. And it doesn't have to be an objective truth. Let it be your truth for a week, a month, a year. And if you don't like it, take it off and adopt another truth. A lot of cool paths out there. Try them all on. Let's see what happens. When I was a kid, I went to a religious school, which was kind of fun, a very fundamentalist Christian school. And I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed parts of it, but I say that because of what I'm about to tell you. I was in the Bible class, and in the class, our teacher was talking about all the world religions. He's a very devout, terrifying Christian man. And I don't say that kind of terrifying in the sense that God is the only thing that should be feared. I mean, he's terrifying in that he's one of those people with a split personality. So when he's teaching, right, it's my flock, my sheep, all very good. And then he would, corner students in the hallway that his kids had personal problems with and would essentially intimidate them. So I'm not going to give any names because I'm, you know what I mean? Never knew who's going to see this. But in his class, He's teaching about the world religions, and he's teaching about them from this very dogmatic Christian standpoint. He's talking about Hinduism and Buddhism, and for some of those Eastern religions, he's like, they believe they go to a place, nirvana, where it's all peace after this, and it's just oneness with the universe. And I found his tone and I found his approach condescending and rude. I wasn't even a member of these religions, barely knew anything about them, yet I felt offended on their behalf. So I made it a personal point to tell all of the other students, I'm going to try on every world religion for a month. And I want to get through all of them. I want to know what it's like to be a Muslim. I want to know what it's like to be a Christian. I want to know what it's like to be a Mormon. I want to know what it's like to be a Buddhist. This was me at 15. And did I do all of that? Not really. You know, it's like an empty threat you make. It's a cool thing you say. It's controversial. It's edgy for that kind of Christian climate. I understand it's not very edgy compared to other acts of edginess that people perform. Nonetheless, in that climate, it gained me popularity. It gained me a certain type of reputation. And in a certain way, it came true because as I got older, as I got into my 20s, really 20 to 21 was when I started deeply diving into the world religions, into the different spiritual techniques and philosophies. So little did I know, 15-year-old me was predicting my future. 10 years later, 5 years technically. That's crazy that 15 to 20 is only 5 years. It's wild. But nevertheless, I got to try on these different belief systems. I got to try out these different techniques, these modalities. I got to work with the different angels and demons and gods of these religions. And I have to tell you something, they're all pretty dang valid. You can use Islamic magic and you can create your reality in a really crazy way. You can use Christian magic, create your reality in a really crazy way. Buddhist magic, they all work. They're all valid ways to create. Are they all connected to the same one God, the same one source? Well, a Kabbalist would definitely say yes. They would say absolutely. They're all connected to Keter. They are emanations of the monad, and all of these different gods really are the personifications of the different spheres on the tree of life, 10 spheres in total. So I think there's a lot of truth to that. I also think there are alternate versions of these gods that are created by the religious worshippers. So for example, the type of God that a Catholic is praying to is going to be a different version of God than that of a Protestant or a Baptist. And this is because the flavor or version of God they're getting is in many ways influenced by their understandings, experiences, and interpretations of that God. Therefore, not only is there, these different gods that exist, but there's all these different versions of them that exist depending on the religious faction and group interacting with them. So I see a lot of cool notifications for people that are liking this, for people that are enjoying this. I really appreciate you hitting those buttons. If you're not already subscribed to our YouTube, I encourage you to do so. With our videos, please click like buttons, share the videos. We're really working on building the channel. I really want this to just grow as vastly as it can, doing everything I'm able to on my end to remain centered, balanced, relaxed, so this expansion can be glorious, like a sun that keeps getting brighter instead of a sun that, gets so bright and then turns into a black hole. That's not what I need, and it's not what you guys need. So I'm here to expand in a way that's gonna complement the individual and collective evolution. So when you like these videos, when you share these videos, when you comment on them, you are helping us achieve our dreams, which are very much entangled with the collective dream, open contact, higher consciousness, and knowledge of the divine within and without. So let's take a moment and tune into what may or may not be happening on YouTube. Do we have any comments or questions from YouTube that are
Yes.
calling out?
Well, Brandy Morgan says, any chance you can come to Boise, Idaho anytime soon? She's from Facebook right now.
Oh, I've never been to Idaho. I hear cool things. I believe there's a lot of potatoes in Idaho, if I'm not mistaken. I do like potatoes. I eat them. I have a very regular diet, so I'm eating potatoes like every day, which is very yin, very earth nourishing. So for a fiery person like me, potatoes are an excellent food. I don't have plans to go to Idaho, but if I do form those plans, you'll definitely hear about them. 100%. Right now, my travels are mainly limited to East Coast, West Coast, United States, and major cities within other countries because we want to target the population hubs, right, where there's a lot of people gathering. A lot of people are willing to travel to a place like New York or a place like California or a city like Tokyo or a city like Berlin. A lot of people are willing to travel there because not only is it a cool opportunity to meet a channeler and have a very powerful experience, but of course it's an opportunity to explore these locations that are outside of people's usual experience. So when I work with people to create events or when I'm planning my own event, I always look for what place is a hub. I don't know too much about Idaho. I'm willing to learn more about it though. So feel free to send us an email, keep us in the loop.
And on TikTok, you got this galaxy background, like really cool. It's really nice.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and I got this cute little you can't see it if you're on the computer, but I have this super cute little alien guy on the TikTok with me. So if you see me on TikTok, I got like a little astronaut companion here. Um, but yeah, yeah.
Very
Thanks.
cool. And I'm seeing that people from my country are the ones that are jumping in once in a
Oh,
while.
awesome. I hope they can understand me. That would be cool. That would be really cool. It's funny, we were talking about doing these videos translated into Spanish. I remember that might be a worthy pursuit because I know there's a lot of people for my location, the US, that are south of the border that are really into aliens, that are really into spirituality and esotericism. So that might be a really fun project to work with that. As on the Age of Aquarius notion, I have seen AI that in real time will translate what you're saying into another language with a voice. And they could make me sound very masculino, like we could get a really fun voice to do it. So let's save that in the idea bank for the future.
Yeah. And the rest questions that are on YouTube, it's for Ryo.
Morayo, okay. Cool. Well, I know that you guys really enjoy me and support me, and I'm super grateful. I also know how much you love speaking to RYOKAH and hearing his voice, hearing his energy, and feeling this in your own way, in your own life. So we're going to take a moment to dive into that. How many questions do we have of that nature, Yahaira? Do we have at least 5 questions?
Like 9 or 10, maybe.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, let's do that. You're all here. You've stayed a part of the stream for this long. I really appreciate that. Thank you for the attention and the time you're sharing with us. It means a lot, and we always want to make that worth your while. We want you to walk away from these interactions feeling like something special is happening, and that's because something special is always happening, and our job is to help bring that into the conscious mind for everybody. So let me reposition my body and we'll get started. Have a great time, everybody. I will see you at the end. Enjoy. Iyo. 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 Oi. Oi. All right, we thank you for joining us for this rather spontaneous transmission of information and energy. As we say to you with each interaction, these experiences for us are incredibly stimulating, incredibly exciting, incredibly wonderful, for not only does it represent the bridge between my civilization and yours becoming stronger, but it also represents the universal heart bridge. We have described it as the Atmanic grid or the Atmanian grid that connects your heart center to the heart centers of all living beings. So as we are having this interaction with you, that Atmanic grid, that Atmanian grid is getting stronger. And it allows for us to not only experience a deeper link with your people, but the heart centers of all of the trees that exist on your planet, the heart centers that exist within the animal beings of your planet, as well as the heart centers that relate to the different multi-dimensional beings that are of your world, both in a higher sense as well as in a lower sense. For you have the astral dimensions of your Earth experience, which is largely rooted into your atmosphere. And of course, you have the more densified multi-dimensional experiences that are slightly lower in vibration, that are connected to what you typically refer to as your inner Earth societies and civilizations. So all of these groups become more available to us, become more real for us, if you will, as these interactions continue, just as we become more real for you when you have these interactions and conversations with us. And in that sense, your world becomes real for us, our world becomes real for you, and they then solidify within the same shared reality in a way that you would classify as physical. And we are very delighted about this. We are very excited about things. We understand you have prepared and submitted certain questions for us. So we are going to take some time now to address those and respond to those. Before we do, we greet you, dear host. Thank you for co-creating with us once more. How is your stream of energy flowing?
It's amazing. Thank you so much. How are you?
Of course. We are quite well, quite enthused, and are delighted to hear of the positivity that you are imbibing in.
So the first question we have here, how are the 7 chakras located in the fingers and palm of the hand?
Sure. It is an excellent question, and you're going to find that there are a few different answers depending on the esoteric system that you are working with. So we are going to describe it in a rather simplistic way. Top of the hand, top of the body, bottom of the hand, bottom of the body, middle portion of the hand relates to the middle regions of the body. There are a variety of different reflexology and acupuncture points that are connected to this palm of the hand. And these points, when pressed, will stimulate the different organs and glands that are connected to the more centralized zone or region of your physical body. Now, in terms of the fingers, there is a chakra correlation. There is a chakra correspondence. We will share with you a brief one here. And this can be, in your own way, expanded upon. This can be revised in your own way. So we are not going to propose that this is an objective assessment of the energetic anatomy. Rather, this is one version. Think of it as a template version that you can build upon. So let's imagine the 5 fingers as the energy centers. And observe the heights of your fingers, yes? They go from tallest to smallest. The middle finger in that sense would be the crown and third eye chakra. Going to the index finger, You're beginning to work with the throat and heart chakra. Going down to the ring finger, you are beginning to work with the sacral chakra, root chakra, these lower regions. Going even further down to the pinky, now you're working with the energy centers connected to the feet. The thumb represents full body activation, full body control. So in other words, when you bring the thumb to one of these fingers, creating what you typically refer to as a mudra, you activate that center. So you can use the fingers in that way and their respective heights to understand their influence and commanding of the physical and energy body.
Next question. What are the 7 elements of creation? One of them being black matter.
Dark matter, yes, yes. So we will describe it like this. You have your 5 elements of physical reality. As you expand into the macrocosmic levels, when you become vibrationally extraterrestrial, 2 new elements will be introduced. So remember, spirit is the top of the pentagram. It's already connected to the 5 elements. These 7 elements together, the 2 additional ones, represent the space between the element of fire and the element of spirit. So above fire, you have the element of which you might call space. And then above this, you have the element of which you would call void. This is where you're getting into the territories of dark matter or dark energy. Void energy is like a garment that the source adorns. Think of the source as infinite white light. An infinite white light that is so all-encompassing, if you were to experience it directly, it would be as if you were almost absorbed into it through that experience. To interact with it directly, for many, is a rather absorbative phenomenon. And this is because the source level, again, represents a much higher form of consciousness than what most people access. So this can cause, for some people when they access it, what you call ego death. The little self gets totally rearranged, reconfigured, and recapitulated by the intelligence and light of the source. Now, if you have an ego structure that's very strong, very healthy, and very refined, you're able to have that interaction with the source, and it will act more so as a purifier in a gentle sense, rather than a rearranger in perhaps a rather unforeseen or unpredicted sense. So to shield, you could say, the perspective of beings that are lower in vibratory nature than the source, the element of void is used to, in a sense, conceal, to, in a sense, hide the source's energy, the source's light. So that way, it is accessed by those whom spend time in the void space. Because as you spend time in void space, you begin to, in a sense, create a type of seduction spiritually, where through acclimating with that space, the garment, the void the source is wearing, is dropped. It reveals itself to you at exactly the right moment. And you're able to handle its luminosity and its power in a very contained way. So to access the source directly, you must transcend the 5 elements and enter into the realm of the cosmos. From the realm of the cosmos, you must go beyond the element of space. Once you go past the element of space, you must immerse yourself in that of void energy. And through immersion into the void energy, the true power and presentation of the source is then able to manifest. So we thank you for this rather creative question.
So Tom Toto, he's asking something very interesting. Can you cast a hologram into my sitting
Into your city, your location on Earth.
sitting room where he's at right now?
A hologram. This could be done we are going to not engage with it at this specific time for a few reasons. It will require energy on behalf of the channel. He will have to spend time with us focusing this hologram and then projecting it into your space. So yes, such a thing can be done. And we have used this type of tactic before to make contact with people who are ready. However, in this particular context, because we are vibrationally entangled with the channel, most of our energy is being used to help facilitate this conversation and stream of information. To perform the holographic working would diminish what it is we are working to create here with all of you. So we're not saying no to it, but we are saying not right now.
Can we change our DNA with law of attraction? Change genetics and past through revision of the past?
Yes, absolutely. Of course. Of course. Remember, you change your genetics more often than you think. If you go eating fast food, your DNA will respond in real time and will produce versions, expressions of the DNA that promote sickness. So you have codes for sickness in your DNA. They're turned on when they're triggered. You have codes in your DNA for health, wealth, abundance. That also exists in your DNA, and certain foods turn it on. So your DNA is incredibly responsive. It's not a static thing. It has a certain level of homeostasis that it presents that allows for it to remain integral and durable and consistent over time. Yet that homeostatic core of the DNA superficially is covered by a rather fluid genetic expression that is able to shift and change in real time based off how you're living your life, the foods you're eating, the content you're absorbing, the thoughts and feelings that you're indulging, and the people you spend your time with. These are the biggest influencers of DNA, and they influence DNA in real time for all beings on your planet. Now, the more in control of your body and mind you are, the more your belief systems will solidify a certain type of genetic expression that is auspicious, that is positive, that is healthy. And even if you are in the face of external discordant energies, your DNA will not respond to it as it would for a person who perhaps has not refined themselves in such ways.
And we use the universal hexagram to invoke the sun to make it easier instead of the traditional way of doing it.
Well, the universal hexagram is really in many ways an alchemical symbol. It's not the equivalent of the greater hexagram of soul by any means. So the universal hexagram is an alchemical symbol that specifically represents the blending of the upper and lower worlds, so you can open a portal into the mind of God, both within and without. That's a very different purpose, a very different function than the hexagram of soul, which is, of course, the drawing of the 6 planetary hexagrams on top of one another in golden light. That's allowing for you to merge together all of these 7 planetary powers. When you're working with the universal hexagram, you're not just working with the 7 planetary powers. You're working with archetypes and energies much greater than the 7 planets. So it's a different ritual. It's a different effect. If you are looking for a more convenient way to perform the greater invoking of soul ritual, don't utilize the universal hexagram. Instead, utilize the 7-pointed star. Practice drawing it on paper first. The idea would be to draw the 7-pointed star. Which point you start at will be determined by whatever planet you're going to invoke. For the sun, you would draw it in gold. You could still charge it with ararita, which just means the one is the many are the one. And you would, of course, draw the solar sigil in the center, charging it with Yod-He Vav-He, Eloah, Vada'a. And that will suffice. So that's going to be much more streamlined of a ritual. And the geometry is different. The 7-pointed star is in many ways more vibratory in nature compared to the 6-pointed star. So there's going to be a little more stimulation, a little more potency. It's going to resonate more greatly with your 7 chakras. So you'll feel it on the energetic level with a greater level of power.
Can you talk about the Anuhat?
Sure. We can briefly talk about them. They represent what you will become should you continue down the timeline of contact. They are very different than you because they are not physical in the ways that you understand physicality. They are more like us, quasi-physical, but beyond that. We would describe them as masters of the three worlds. They are masters of physicality, they are masters of energy, and they are masters of spirit. What does this mean? At will, they can become physical beings. They can de-densify to become quasi-physical beings, and they can completely de-densify and become non-physical forms and non-physical expressions of consciousness. They will oftentimes produce a craft that may look technological, but is actually the result of their energy bodies merging together. And this allows for them to astral travel in a way that to all of you would appear completely physical. And it also allows for them to directly travel in such a form, not a projected form. Their consciousness is now rooted in the form, and they are moving freely throughout the various dimensions and densities that exist. They act as teachers and guides, not just for the universe, but ultimately for the multiverse. That is what their power allows for. So, just as we play this role of contacting different versions of Earth and sharing our message, they're able to do this on a multiversal level. So it's a very expanded outreach program, you could say, that they run. The program is one of illumination. They seek out worlds that are attempting to do what your species has done. And if they deem it appropriate, balanced, they make contact. What their contact endeavors are ultimately geared to accomplish will depend on the nature of the world they're communing with. If it is to expose them to other forms of life like we are doing, they will gear them in a way that prepares them for open contact. If their role is simply to impart technological schematics, spiritual teachings, and information, then they will do just that. If their role is to actually intervene in a type of crisis that world is having, if it is permitted, they will do that. But they represent in many ways what you would consider to be the best of the human spirit. Your desires to come together, your desires to give and receive love, your desires to build one another up. They embody these things completely. And in that way, the spirit of humanity doesn't just transcend Earth, it transcends the very limits of the universe. So that is where you are all headed. And we are very excited to guide you there. And remember, we say it as if you're all going to move into that description and the reality that it points to. For those that choose it, that's where you're headed. So if you are not aroused or excited by this type of energy, this type of theme, remember there's other ascension-based paths that don't involve extraterrestrial beings in this way. But if this is positively stimulating and vibratory for you, well, by all means, join us in that way. And we shall guide you in the ways that we have, and we will share with you new insights and details as the energy continues to blossom and unfold, revealing new perspectives.
So Golden Joanne, she says, can you scan my chakras, what I need to work on, or any advice how to align?
One moment. All right. One moment. We're scanning into various levels. We are reading you elementally. Your main chakra that is most active and energy center that is most active is that of your heart chakra, specifically your higher heart chakra. This is deeply connected to the element of air, where the solar plexus for the chakra system is more correspondent to fire. So for you, your heart center is very active, your higher heart center is very active, and you can use this to your advantage. This can allow for you to socialize with different people, to connect to the heart essence of each person that you see. It can allow for you to heal in many ways, both yourself and others, because it is ultimately unconditional love in its various forms that produces healing effects, healing phenomenon. We're going to go deeper. One moment. For you, one of the things that will be key is the creation of healthy boundaries. So if you find that you have tensions with people in your life, different relationships and things like this, it is likely those tensions are because someone feels as if their boundaries were violated. So what we would advise is create a very harmonious relationship with your sense of boundaries. Really investigate, what do you stand for? What are your ethics? What are your morals? What are your values? Because those are the types of things that will influence the type of boundaries that you create for yourself and for others. What are the consequences of somebody violating your boundary? That's something you must ask yourself. Are you going to just cut this person out of your life? Are you going to give them a second chance? Are you going to honestly communicate how you feel? Are you going to strategically communicate how you feel? All of these things must be investigated. Have a type of social plan in that way, because people will step on your toes. You're on Earth. There's a lot of you. So someone's going to step on your toes. What are you going to do when it happens? That's an important question to ask yourself. Are you going to get angry? Are you going to scold them? Are you going to open your heart and tell them everything that happened? Or are you going to be clever and perhaps get them to see your boundary in a way that does not seem as if you're imposing it upon them? Lots of ways to proceed. So boundaries for you in that way are key. Focusing on cultivating the fire element within you is also going to be quite useful, because this will energize you for your path and for your mission. So yogic breathing, like breath of fire or Bhastrika, as it is sometimes referred to, these types of things can be incredibly useful for building up personal fire. One moment. We're going to scan you now on a higher level. This is related to the stellar level and realm of stellar influence. One. All right. All right. So in terms of parts of the body to pay attention to, large intestine and colon, which are ruled by the zodiacal powers of Scorpio. This is your underworld. To really expand how relevant this is, there are many mental, emotional conditions and problems that have actually been solved on your planet through something as simple as enema therapy or colonics. When old fecal matter is removed from the body, it tends to liberate one's consciousness from the emotional energies that are connected to that old food waste that was produced at some point in time in the past. So those energies that are the old food waste, the fecal matter in the colon, this holds within it like a battery energies connected to the experience that was had when actually eating that food. So sometimes if a person has issues with emotional phenomenon, has issues with being able to move on in life, it may be time for them to cleanse the intestines in a certain way. Now, we're not saying you have to do that. We're giving that generally because there's so many people here listening, and there's likely to be one or two at least who will benefit from such information. But for you, how this relates to your body, your consciousness, the energies of Scorpio are all about transformation. So this is about being able to look at the different things in your life, both in the past and in the present, that when you think of them, you have a type of stress reaction. Contemplate what those things are, and then begin to create for yourself unique ways to transform them and your relationship to them. So that way they can become something that strengthens you, something that motivates you, something that empowers you, instead of something that on the subconscious level triggers you. If your mind is filled with these subconscious triggers, it will turn into a lot of repressed or background stress and noise. So the more you're able to refine your perspective and relationship to these things, the gentler of a place the mind will become.
Maureen says, as I change timelines, that seem to be different than what my family prefers. Will they all disappear from my life, or will other versions of them still be present? I assume I have contracts with them.
Sure, you do have contracts with them. They may disappear from your life in a certain way, but not permanently. You might move away from them. You might not talk to them. as much anymore. You might not be following them as much on social media. So there may be a time where perhaps your awareness of them diminishes because you're focused more on your path, your healing, your ascension. But that doesn't mean that they will forever leave you. And it would not necessarily be useful for them to completely leave you because there are these contracts, there are these close emotional connections. And in a lot of ways, there's room for beautiful transformations and improvements. And yes, remember that you're actually experiencing billions of different versions of the same person billions of times per second. So what seems to be just one version of your mother or father that you're interacting with is actually billions of versions of them all put together in a way that convinces you you're talking to one version, one person. So you're always experiencing different versions of them billions of times per second. Just as right now, you're shifting through billions of different versions of yourself. New self, new self, new self, new self, new self. That's happening in real time right now. That's the irony. You look around you, things look still, not much movement, yet you are shifting faster than what you consider to be your speed of light. You're doing this on the higher levels. So the same's happening with your family. And as you refine your frequency and your vibration, and as you refine your relationships with them, you'll find you will draw forth versions of them that are more harmonious. Now, they might have to go through some kind of process to really embody that, some type of healing. Sometimes there's a crisis, something happens in the family. People need assistance. They start voicing concerns and feelings and needs they've had all along, but haven't told anyone. So you will experience more positive versions of them, more integrative, more healed, holistic versions of them. There may be a little bit of experience needed to really anchor that in. You might call that a healing or a transformation, but yes, these types of things are also available. So with your families, be supportive, especially to your mothers. Remember that you and your mother, and this is for all of you, are energetically entangled for the entirety of your life. All of you. So heal those relationships and you will benefit, your mother will benefit, much prosperity and gifts will come. Many of you have had manifestations that you have asked for, some of you for years, and they have not shown up. Remember that when you are invoking a manifestation, you're invoking the spirit of the great mother, the cosmic mother, whom births all things. If there are imbalances with your earth mother, there will be imbalances with the cosmic mother. It will delay the manifestations and in some instances warp them. So we encourage all of you, really explore that maternal connection deeply. Use the powers of forgiveness, use the powers of love and encouragement. Remember that when you praise someone in a genuine way, you reveal to them their own strength, their own greatness, their own goodness. They feel better about themselves instantly. They begin to feel better about you as well. So that will accelerate the healings. So just a little food for thought in relationship to healing and manifestation.
So it's 6:30 your time.
Excellent. We will allow the channel to return to a somewhat physically oriented state. We thank you all for joining us for this exciting, spontaneous live stream. We look forward to seeing you at our transmission this Saturday on the 20th at 2:30 Eastern Standard Time for the Cosmic Alphabet, where we shall assist you in really understanding and refining your relationship to the splitting prism process so you can be more conscious of it and so you can utilize it in a wonderful way that will ultimately guide you to whatever reality you say you prefer. Our unconditional love to each of you and all of you. Good day. Okay. All right. That was a lot of fun, everybody. I hope you had a good time. It looks like my cell phone died while I was in the middle of the TikTok stream. So,
No, as soon as you finished, it got paused over here, but you
oh,
were
no
done.
way. Right on
Yeah,
time? That's
yeah, right.
that's hilarious. Great job with the timing, Yara. It's perfect. Well, everybody, this was a heck of a lot of fun. We're gonna be doing a lot more of these Thursdays. Me and you, were talking. This is a great day for both of us to come together and do this. So expect some cool channeling, some Q&As each Thursday. We're gonna keep that going as long as we can. We might do more. Who knows? We are just getting started with these cool multi-streaming platforms. So you got a lot to look forward to. I know we all do as well. So be well, my friends. Enjoy the start of this excellent evening wherever you are. And I'll see you guys soon. We got a lot of stuff coming up. The channeling event this weekend, coming the 26th, Friday the 26th, the 29th. We're going to be doing Sexual Alchemy Training 1. Following that, we're doing Fusion of the 5 Elements. Following that, the Lesser Alchemy of Khan and Lee. And following that, we're doing a magical astral immersion into the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, where you're going to learn everything from crystals to tarot cards to invokings to banishings to astral flight, opening multidimensional portals, and exercising a variety of metaphysical abilities on the astral plane that you're going to be able to replicate in your life. And that's the final plug. So enjoy, everybody. I love to you always, and I will see you at our next stream. Be well.